Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Main Street Garden. We're officially in the final stretches of fall, which means we need to do cleanup on the landscape. So today I'm gonna go ahead and take out all of these flower beds and make sure that we're ready for next spring. Stay tuned. You guys might remember that there's a bit of a construction project going on. Just a little update before we hop into the garden. Half of the garage pad did get poured yesterday, so that is exciting. But that also kind of means that there is remodeling going on in the garden with a new berm here. I did have to move the plants that were on the last 8 feet or so of the fence. So that's why the shade garden is in a bit of disarray right now. I need to put some of those plants back in their spaces here, and they're just kind of plopped about where I could fit them because it was kind of a last minute thing when the dirt work started. But we're going to be clearing off all of the dead hostas here. I'm going to be deadheading the hydrangea. And then we're gonna take off all of the annuals throughout the landscape. If it was a little bit deeper into fall with a few more hard frosts, I would just get out my mower and take off the perennials, but they're not quite dead yet, so I don't want to be too rough on them. It's incredible what one night at 16 degrees can do. We just had that here about a week ago. And over here in the corner, I'm gonna be cutting back the mums, as well as anything else that's needing some pre-winter preening. Just to give an overview of the tools we're going to be using today, I did get out my little knee saver. I got that off Amazon. I have my nice sharp shears, and I find that after I dealt with the cannas that a nice tarp really helps. You can take basically all the matter off of the garden, put it on that tarp, and then you can haul it right over to the back of your truck. So I find that that was really convenient. Without further ado, let's dive in. There isn't really a ton of stuff to do in this corner garden just because we recently remodeled it, but I am going to cut back these alliums. On the mum over here, I'm going to give them 6 to 8 inches from the base with those sticks that are remaining. Over here we have the newly planted Nofophia. The greenery on these is pretty frost damaged at this point. I'm going to still let them keep some of their greenery. I'm not saying this is right, wrong, or otherwise, but it's what I'm doing. So we're leaving about 3 inches on top here, and then I will come over and give these some mulch because the website claims that they're hardy down to a zone 5, but then lower on in their reading material, they're like, oh, and by the way, you need to mulch these. So we are in zone 5B here, so we'll see if they make it through winter. I hope they do, but if they don't, I guess you live and you learn. This is the corner garden after we got done cleaning it off. There is still just a little bit of leaf matter and stuff left, but I'm not terribly worried about that. It's kind of nice though because we did just remodel this. It didn't take a lot of effort to pull together. We're leaving the butterfly bush alone because I'm told that that is a sin to cut those back. So we are leaving that guy. I'm hoping it'll come back in the spring and we'll see how it goes. So I just saw something really cool. This is the Victoria Falls salvia. Even the core of the stems are purple. That is a fun little find. I've never noticed that before. While I'm rummaging through the garden here, let's talk about the current trend of people waiting until spring to clean off their landscapes. Now, there is some benefits to doing that, but one of the reasons why I choose not to is twofold. So, for instance, this year we had record rainfall. Record rainfall means record numbers of slugs. All of this leaf litter is holding on to the slugs, like their eggs, whatever, you know, maybe going on down there. I really don't want another infestation next year. The second reason is to mitigate powdery mildew. We had kind of talked about the sunflowers earlier. That's just one of the flowers in my garden that gets powdery mildew as the season progresses. Zinnias are another one that get powdery mildew really heavily towards fall for me, as well as peonies and a long list of other ones too. If you leave that on the ground, it can actually cause powdery mildew the following year. So I'm not really wanting to invite that into my garden more than it already is. And the last reason is just because I prefer the look. I don't want to see all of this all winter long. So that's just a personal reason. I realize that it's not really a real reason, but it's my garden and I want to enjoy it. The Latana's got huge this year. Look at that. That's one Latana bush. I won't be planting it next year just because it didn't really bloom well for me, but it did get huge. It kind of took over the entire bed there. If anyone is into bonsai, we have all sorts of maples. There's a maple tree right above me, and it never fails to seed down this flower bed. I'm gonna get in here, kind of make a clump. Alternately, you could come over this with a lawnmower. I prefer to do it by hand just because I can disinfect my cutting tools in between plants. I don't want to take any chances with spreading disease through my garden. I realize that that's a little bit OCD, but that's just kind of the way I work. You can see just how gorgeous these coral bells are. We do not touch those until spring if there's winter dieback. They're kind of semi-evergreen in my zone. For the hostas that are still kind of alive, we're gonna come right down here, just about an inch above soil level, and we're gonna trim it all off. For the hydrangea, I'm just going to trim these heads off. This is Little Lime Punch. It did good this year, especially considering it was in pretty deep shade. The trick with hydrangeas is you look for anything that's dead, broken, or diseased. And I also kind of trim back these small branches too. Basically, I trimmed off all the bloom heads. This guy is a really tiny hydrangea, so there wasn't much to prune off, but what we did do is there was a branch coming across the ground here that I trimmed. There was also that one that I optionally decided to take off at the last minute back there that was crawling across the ground. But check that out. It's beautiful. Some good stems going on there. There's nothing that's really crossing over one another. This is an ideal situation for a hydrangea. I can't wait to see what it does next year. And there we have it. There's the petunia roll-up. And now we're gonna start cleaning off the planters. My plan is to come in here and just basically trim off the mums. I don't want to pull these out of the planter just because it makes it a lot firmer that I can stick winter decorations in if I don't have to have new soil in there. And then we're going to delicately remove these sopping wet sedum, but we're going to do our best to leave the silver falls because that is wonderful winter interest. And just like that, a mum disappeared. Even though it got down to 16 degrees, the blooms next to the house are still kind of pretty. And let's dig into the lemon sedum here. This could be interesting. I'm gonna try and part it away from the dichondria. And again, we're not tearing out soil here, we're just kind of tearing it off at soil level because they're pretty tender. And of course, during this process, you will end up sacrificing a few strands of silver falls, but by and large, in my experience, you can generally keep it. And you'll notice that it does look a little bit sparse up top. That's okay because a lot of the times my winter decorations will spill over. So there it is. That's our first pot cleaned off. This first pot here is the one I had the begonias in. You can see that they completely flattened out after the frost. We're going to take out the ice plant that is currently very sopping wet. Anything that is succulent-like turns into slop. This one is really intertwined with the silver falls. Well, I guess maybe that's a new strategy. If you pull on the lemon sedum, it comes out easier because it's weaker than the Silver Falls. And there you go. We just learned a new trick together. Alrighty, and check that out. All of that was one season of growth. That was only one plant. I just finished leaf blowing as well as mowing the lawn to get rid of all the extra leaves. Again, leaves on the lawn, if they stick over the winter, will actually kill your lawn. So some people choose to mulch them. There are still some that you can see down in there. So there's still some down there, but anyway, I'm gonna do a walkthrough of the garden just to see what's kind of left after all the work we did, and we'll talk about a few things that I found while clearing off the landscape. Starting over in the corner here, we did trim back a lot of the stuff that we just planted about a month ago. The bristlecone is doing fantastic. There is some dieback on the inside, but that is to be expected. Coming back out, we have the magnolia and the new hydrangeas all along here. We're gonna come back just in a bit here, and I'm gonna do another video of planting some spring bulbs in this area. I kind of plopped an allium there that I had dug out just to keep it there over winter until my new portion of the garden gets done. This is one concerning thing that I found while cleaning off this flower bed. So this magnolia appears to be having some issues with dying back on its trunk, which is concerning to me. Otherwise, it does appear to be healthy. There are buds that are going to bloom next spring up here. So hopefully that isn't a bad sign of an impending death. We'll see. But it's been my favorite tree for a long time here. Hopefully it'll be okay. This is the daylily patch. I'm going to be tucking some more daffodils in there. The rose bush looks very lonely there. We just got to see this guy here again for the first time this fall. This is my Shimanashiki tree peony that has been sheared off by rabbits 3 years in a row now. So we're going to be going over some ways to protect that in a future video. This is the shade garden. As you can see, I got everything planted into these beds. I'm not 100% sure that that is where it's going to end up permanently, but I just needed to get this all tucked in for winter. So that concludes our 2025 fall cleanup. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and leave a comment down below. Until next time, thank you for joining me at the Main Street Garden.